settled, and my stress and worry faded. A comfort washed over me from head to toe. A genuine smile crept over my lips as I looked around. I loved this time of year, when all the leaves were starting to change. As expected, I scanned over the businesses lining the streets and found them decorated to the hilt. Corn stalks, pumpkins, scarecrows, even bales of hay, all displayed at each storefront in their own unique way. As I drove past my mother's shop, Blossom's Florist, my mind was flooded with so many memories. As a young girl, I looked forward to going into the shop with my mother after school and on weekends. The smell of fresh flowers, the beautiful arrangements, both big and small, displayed throughout the store were gorgeous. As I grew older, I found I would go in less and less, going through the infamous teenage phase where it was no longer cool to hang out with your mom. The thing was, looking back now, I can honestly say that was probably the coolest thing in my adolescent life. I was such a nerd. I crept along, my foot barely on the gas, taking in all the same shops that had lined the streets since before I could remember. A few were new, mixed in with the old, as the demand changed over the years, and the younger generations took chances on new ventures. But the original stores were still the same. That was something I knew I could count on here. I turned left onto Tucker Lane and got lost in the darkness of the country road. The further I drove, the darker it got, leaving behind the quaint neighborhoods that were tucked back into the small coves along the way. The very second my headlights reflected on the chrome sign that I knew still bore the faded words, Michael's Lane, tears pooled in my eyes. So many years missed. So many memories lost during my quest to find something bigger. I regretted so much I had let my pride keep me away from my favorite place in the world, and my favorite people, my parents and Anna, her little boy Drew, who I barely knew, but had seen so many times through virtual chats. They've always been my biggest fans, always allowing me to believe I was capable of the greatest things. In their eyes, I was the greatest thing. I guess that's why I toughed it out in the city so long. The idea of disappointing them destroyed me. It took only one sentence to give me my final out. Your mother fell and broke her hip. My father didn't ask me to come home. He didn't tell me they needed me, but there was something in the tone of his voice. Desperation, maybe? But definitely worry that he was trying to hide. I don't know if it was the little girl in me, but hearing the break in my father's voice almost broke me in return. He's always been a strong-willed man. He never asked for help. Determined to get through it on his own, he rarely allowed my mother or I to see him falter. My choice was easy. I left behind the life I hated in the city. I drove away with no regrets. I don't know if I even glanced in the rearview mirror. Everything that lay ahead was what I had to look forward to. The long lane that led to my parents' home was dark, no streetlights, no side buildings to light the way. But up ahead, hidden in the mass amount of trees, I could see the old Victorian, lit up bright, like they were waiting for me, watching out the windows for the headlights to peek through the trees. The excitement was exhilarating. Hearing the gravel pop beneath the tires of my Toyota, I slowed to a stop next to my father's company truck that read Plumbing Solutions on the side. It was a family-owned business of 4 generations, and just another place in my childhood. After I parked my car, I left behind everything but my small bag and climbed out. Stretching my legs after a long drive, I took only 2 steps before the front door opened, and my father stepped out. Even in the 10 months since I'd last seen him, he looked as though he'd aged 10 years. The defined lines near his eyes, the peppered gray hair that had begun to take over his dark locks. It was all hard to miss. Instantly, I rushed for him and wrapped my arms around his shoulders, resting my head upon his chest. Breathing in the familiar woodsy scent, I teared up but fought the urge to cry. Hey, Buck. I'd always hated that name, and now that I was 25 years old,